concluded our UX research and user research and user persona classes yesterday. And I'm sure that with this masterclass, would gain more insight and be more knowledgeable in this field. So with me here tonight is Hygienus. Okay, I hope I pronounced the name very well. Yes, with me here tonight is Hygienus. Okay, Hygienus is a seasoned product designer who works with inorganic. Yeah, Hygienus is a UX and UI designer and a front-end engineer. He works with inorganic as a UX and UI designer and a front-end engineer. He also creates content on YouTube, collaborates with Wix, Zipline, and other big tech companies. He's also a freelancer on Upwork and also has a Google certification on UX design. So I'm sure with this portfolio, we would be receiving massive knowledge, massive insights on UX research and its importance. So Hygienus, if you're here, on behalf of everyone in Upskill, the organizers, the participants, members of the high table and members of the floor, I'm saying welcome to this masterclass. We can't wait to learn from you, and I'll be leaving the floor open for you right now to start and go on. Thank you very much, Hygienus, for honoring our invitation. Hello, can you hear me? Hygienus, you can start.
Okay, well, I think he probably cannot hear you because his mic is not connected at this point. I think maybe network happened and he left and came back. His mic wasn't connected anymore. So maybe we'll have to give him some time to come back on the call.
Okay, so while we wait for Hygienus, I'm speaking to the product design guys right now. So I think this is like God's plan. It's God's plan that this class is holding today. And also, pardon me that it's almost as if every time this period, I'm always on the road. Yes, it's what my work has pushed me to do. That's by 8 o'clock, I'm not yet settled, but then no excuses. What we have to do, we have to do it. So I'm so happy that this masterclass is coming up at such a time like this, especially when we have lots and lots of tasks to do. User research and user personas. So I believe that everybody is supposed to be here, but unfortunately we have 60-something people. So you know what they say, many are called, few are chosen. So I think this is the few that has been chosen to become those, world-breaking product designers. So if you're here, count yourself worthy. If you're here, just open your ears and take down notes. If Hygienus back, he can assist, he can take over from me right now.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Hygienus, we can hear you. Their mics are muted so that the class wouldn't be very rowdy. whenever they need to, you need me to unmute anyone, maybe they can hands up and I will ask them to unmute. So everything is more organized. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I could say in the comment section, a lot of people are saying yes. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. I have some documents I want you guys to look at why I try to explain or discuss the importance of UX research plan and how to create a research plan. So let me quickly share my screen. Also, let me know in the comment section if you can see my screen. That would be great. Okay. So everyone could see my screen. All right, great. So let's start. So I'll start by outlining the content for this masterclass, which is the importance of UX research plan and how to create a research plan. So first, I'll introduce who I am and we'll talk about the topic. Then we'll go on to understand why is it important to plan and also understand what UX research is, the importance of UX research, and what is UX research plan. Then we'll also talk about the benefits of having a UX research plan. And then we'll move on to discuss how to write a UX research plan. So after that, we're going to have a Q&A section where people can ask questions around what we have just discussed around the same topic, and then we'll move on from there and wrap up the section. So if you have questions or you're not hearing me, please let me know in the comments, in the chat box or the meeting chat, so I'll be aware that you can hear me. So if you guys can hear me and you want us to get started, just write in the comment section, get started, so we can start up the whole discussion. Yeah, great. A lot of people are sending get started. That's great. So let me quickly talk about who Uke Hyginus Nnamdi is. That's my name, Uke Hyginus Nnamdi. I'm a UX UI designer, and I'm also a front-end developer. So I also do front-end engineering. I create content on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. And also in my YouTube channel, I've collaborated with big companies like Wix, Zephlin, and other big tech companies. So currently I work with a company called Inorganic, and I work as a full-fledged UI designer and a front-end engineer. So I also do freelancing. So I work, I get freelancing gigs from YouTube and also from Upwork. I also do freelancing on Upwork. And I'm a Google certified UX designer. So I got certification from Google. And if you want to know more about me, my portfolio is there, hygienistok.com. And also you can make a good Googling about me. Just search on Google about Uke Hyginus Nnamdi. You get to know more about me. So let's quickly jump into the topic of today, which is the importance of UX research plan and how to create a UX research plan. So I want to categorically explain who needs this information. So who are the people who need to know the importance of UX plan, research plan, and how to create a UX research plan? So if you're a UX researcher working in a product-led company, maybe your company is building a product, or you're working in a company that ship out SaaS products or digital products, then this information is for you. Also, this information is for everyone who is part of a team shipping out digital products. You're shipping out products like, let's say, mobile apps, web apps. So in that team, you have the front-end guys, the back-end guys, the UI guys, the UX guys, depending on the specialty of your role. We also have the other stakeholders like the project manager, the business analyst, and a lot of team members that are part of that product team trying to build out that application or trying to build out that digital product. So these are the people who need this information because they are going to be part of building that product. And the UX research and the UX research plan is very important for you to ship out products that are user-centric. So why do we have to do user research plan? Because it's a crucial component of human-centered design process. So you're actually shipping out products for users. Gone are the days where you just ship out products and you tend to understand maybe from statistics of people using it, you tend to understand how to shape the product. But nowadays, people build products by going into research, first of all, to understand the users and understand the market before building product. So at the end of the day, you end up building products that users will enjoy and will value. So the importance of having a user research and creating a user research plan is very crucial and essential part in creating softwares or digital products that meet their expectations and deliver the value to the customers. So nowadays we are focused on user-centric design. So we need to design products that solves the user's need. So why is it important to plan? Planning helps us to be accountable of what we do. For example, when I started learning UI UX, I will be honest, I didn't really have a plan, but with time I had to, I need a plan. I need to say, okay, this is the number of time, this is the number of days I want to spend learning this, or this is the number of months I want to spend learning this. And after this set month, I want to start working, or I want to start interning in a tech company or whatever field I can try to practice what I've learned. So this is a plan actually. So most of us will jump into learning tech skills, and at the end of the day, we'll find ourselves learning another tech skill and jump into another space without really actualizing our goals and objectives of actually moving into learning such skill. So if you want to plan something, if you have an objective, you have a goal, so what you need to do is to set up a plan. So planning helps us to decide the best way to use our resources, because when you go into learning, for example, UX course, you might end up spending money, you might end up spending time, you end up getting a lot of information, you might end up buying equipment and all of that. So the planning process helps us to manage these resources. Assuming you're a product, assuming you're a product designer or a product manager, for example, you have teams of users you want to manage to actually actualize that product you are trying to build. So if you don't end up managing or planning very well to manage those users, at the end of the day, you find that you use those users and you don't actually get the dream of what you want to do. So planning is a very, very essential thing. And this guy says, Benjamin Franklin, he says, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to what? To fail. So we actually need to plan whenever we want to jump into building a product or any endeavor like we wish to actualize. We need to plan for it. So that's why planning is very, very important. So let's discuss what UX research is all about. I have a note here to explain the process of UX research. It involves just gathering insights about users' behaviors, their needs, and their pain points through observation techniques and feedback methodologies. So now, what this explains is, assuming you want to build a product in the market, I'm going to take two products, for example. I'm going to use Bolt. I'm sure you guys know about Bolt, and we know about Uber since we're product designers. So if you notice, these products are two different products, and they are being shifted to a particular market. And if you find out, if you do your research, you find out that Bolt works fine and has a larger audience in the African region, and the Uber out there in the Western world, it has a larger audience. So if you look at what happens, it's there's a more research done on Bolt to actually take in specific users like the drivers and the users. And kind of find a way to make that product to be suitable for us, which are the audience. And now you find that people use more of both in this region than Uber. So this is the importance of UX research. You want to build a product that is successful in a said market or a said audience. So you need to gather insights about the users you're building this product for. You need to understand their pain point. What is their challenges? And you find out that both is more cheaper when both started compared to Uber. That's one of the features. You also find that there are incentives for drivers because these drivers are actually part of the business. And this also helped the product to be more successful in the African region. So the importance of UX research is just to really understand your user, build products that your user will enjoy, build products that are valuable to the users. And the goal is to just understand the user's pain point, their perspectives, and just make decisions based on the information you've found, build products that are based on your research. So that's that's why UX, or that's what UX research is all about. So I highlighted some of the importance of UX research, which is one, to make information decision based on data. So when you get feedbacks from the users, you can then use those decisions to create your applications or your design products. So the information you get helps shape your design decisions. I know some of us have come across some words like design decision, design thinking, and all of that. So the information you get from your research help you to shape your design thinking. So it also removes biases from user experience design process. So biases are like, you have some I'll call them predictions to things, like they are not really validated by research. You just for example, if they ask you to build, let's say, build a product for people that will maybe buy stuff online, let's say buy shawarma online, and you say, yes, people will be interested in such an app because you feel that it's going to work. So this is a bias. So you need to validate that people actually need that product and people actually want to see that product in the market before you go on to design such things. So it helps remove biases when it comes to designing process. And I can say biases is just deviating from the truth. So research helps us to get the truth, the actual value, the actual information about a certain concept or idea. So it helps us to test and validate concepts. For example, you're working in a team and then you build an app, maybe a design process, maybe for, let's say, the login process. And you want to validate if the login process is actually intuitive for the user, is actually easy for the users to do. So you can run a research test, and most time we call that usability studies. So you can do what we call a usability study to actually test and validate that process or the design process. Or you have a concept you want to find out or to be sure about what you are trying to validate, you can use your research to actually confirm that. Someone is raising up his or her hand. Who is that? So if you have any questions, just drop it in the comment section. I can also respond to that. So yeah, so one of the importance is to just validate your concept or validate a process or a design decision process. So the next thing is to work on solutions that bring great value to the customers. So if you're actually doing research, okay, Chinela, I can say that's a mistake, that's fine. So if you're actually working on a research for a particular set of customer, for a set of audience, you find out that when you build solutions that meet up to their needs and expectations, you're actually bringing out a very valued product to that customer. You're actually giving the user a value. So you have to use research to actually understand the pain points. Like I said, what UX research is all about. Understand their pain points and then give them the value they want for the product they're going to use. So one of the goal of UX research is to build products that are enjoyable. So we want to be using products that are very, when I'm using this product, I'm happy using the product. I'm eager to know the next actions to take when using the product. So that's one of the importance of UX research. And the next point which I have there is successfully take products to the market. So if your product is okay based on research, is good based on research, then actually you're going to have a product that works in the market. But if you have a product that you find that a lot of products are being built and nothing happens, people don't end up using those products. This is because there's no proper research done, and that is why the product failed when being shipped to the market. So if you want to have a successful product shipped to the market, then you have to do your research very well so that you end up having products that are enjoyable, equitable, and valuable, and also useful to the user. So that's the importance of UX research. So next, we're going to talk about UX research plan. So having understood what UX research is, so how do you plan your research? How do you go about to create your research plan and eventually carry out this research? We're going to talk about that here. But if you guys have any questions, or if I'm too fast, let me know. If you have any questions around what I've just said, what UX research is, the importance of user research, you can let me know in the comment section. So the next thing I want to discuss is what is a research plan? So a research plan is simply a document. The document has an overview of how you want to start your project and how you want to end the project. So it's just a document out there. It can be on the internet. It can be handwritten documents. So this is just a document that has an overview of what you want to do, how you want to carry out your research, how you want to build the product, and all of that. So that is it. So the next thing we're going to talk about, having understood what a research plan is. So what should be the content of a research plan? It should include information of your objective. We're going to discuss what the objectives are. So when you're going to a research, you should have an objective. You should have methodologies. You should have the participants that you're going to recruit and interview or run some testing, A/B testing or usability testings with. You should have a brief and you should have reporting. So this should be the content of a user research plan. So a research plan not just help researchers, it also helps every stakeholder. Like I mentioned, when I was starting this session, I talked about who are the benefits of this, understanding what user research is and how to create a user research plan. It cuts across mainly the UX researcher, but also other stakeholders are also involved in this. The project manager, the business analyst, the software developer, the backend, and the front-end developer. So it also important to them because it makes everyone to become familiar with the process, also become familiar with the scope, objectives, timeline of the project. So that's what a user research plan should contain. So a user research plan should contain the objective, the methodologies, the participants, the brief, the reporting, and everyone that is part of building that product should be part of the user research plan. They should have like an insight of how your research is going and how you intend to achieve that. So what are the benefits of having a research plan is one, foster alignment. So within the other team members, like I said, the PMs, the big BAs, the software guys. So it kinds of foster alignment. Everybody knows what you're working on. Then it helps you to achieve your goals. Like I said, if you have a plan, it helps you to actualize that plan. So, and also helps in engaging stakeholders. So stakeholders, when I mention stakeholders, I mean everybody that is part of the team that's trying to build that product together. So there's a lot of engagement going with the stakeholders when you have a research plan. So now the big question here is, how do you go on to create a research plan? So the first thing you need to do is to identify the problem statement. So when you want to build an app, you should have a problem you're trying to solve. Or when you want to build a product, you should have a problem you want to solve. I think the major problem of, let's say, the boat is coming out to make transportation easy. So you don't have to maybe fly along to actually get to your destinations. You can actually book a ride at home, and your rider comes pick you at home and take you to your destination. And that's one of the problem they are trying to solve. So in your organizations, the stakeholders or the owners of the product might have come out with an idea, or they could have seen a problem they want to solve, and they now come out with this. So most times, if you work in a small team environment, you're being given the problem. You're being told what the problem is. Oh, this is what we're trying to solve. We're trying to build an application that will help instead of users. Let me take for example, instead of users having to walk to a store to buy groceries, we want an app that users can easily select the different type of groceries they want from their different vendors, and then have those groceries delivered to their home or destination. So how do you solve this problem? So the first thing is, in writing a research plan, you need to understand the problem. So most of the times, this problem comes from the product owners or the owners of the applications. So they tend to state the problem you want to solve. So another problem you could identify is, maybe you just built an application and you want to test if that application is intuitive, if the users have any challenges with it. That should be a problem statement. So you want to run a research to validate what you have built. That should be a problem. So what you have to do is, once you have your problem statement identified, you have solved 90% of what you're going into. And the aim of the research should be trying to solve that problem. That should lead me to the next point, which is the objectives. So what are your objectives? How do you tend to solve that problem? So that is the next thing. So we need to have objectives. You need to write down your objectives to solve that particular problem. So the next thing is choosing the right research methods. There are a lot of research methods out there, quantitative, qualitative research methods. And under these two types of research methods, there are various types of research methods. Like if you come to qualitative, it has to do with one-on-one interview with the user. So when you talk about quantitative, it has to do with calculations, numbers, and all of that. So example of quantitative research method is like surveys, where you throw out surveys to people to fill, and you then analyze the information you get from that. Example of qualitative is interview. I just mentioned interview. So you have one-on-one interview with a person, you discuss, you try to understand their pain points, and that is research method. So your research methods matters. You determine the type of research method you want to use. Then the next thing you need to do is to recruit the participants. So having know the methods you're going to use, now you have to identify the users. Now you have to be specific. I'm going to discuss more of this by showing an example. So you recruit the participants, then you create what we call the brief. So the brief is just like a document that have the questions, how you want to start and how you want to end. So that's the brief. The next thing, you establish your timeline. When are you going to interview those people? When are you going to end the interview process, and when is the whole project is going to end? I don't know what that means in the comment section. Please explain. So the next thing is establishing how you want to present your findings. So after doing your research, what did you find out from the research, and how do you present it. So I'm going to show you an example. If you're aware of Jira, this is Jira. It's a project management tool. So it helps us to really manage teams working on a project. So I'm going to walk you through what we have here. So this is like a roadmap to completing an app, and we have the project kickoff where we understand the problem. So at this point, the stakeholders are saying, oh, this is sometimes they give you a design brief that contains what they want you to solve. So this is the user story of what they want you to solve. Oh, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So you're going to understand, take your time to read this. This should serve as your problem statement, trying to identify, like you see a user should be able to create an account, login, and all of this. So you read all of this. This is sometimes some companies give design briefs. So you go through the brief to understand what you are actually trying to solve. Then the next stage of the kickoff for me is creating the research plan. So at the research plan stage, so let me just quickly open the research plan. So here we have the background of the research, the objectives. So the background is understanding the problem, and the objectives, then the research method, then the participants. So here there's a document to back this up as well. You can see the background, what we're trying to solve, the objectives, like I mentioned. Now, the background of this, I'm not going to go details into this because it's confidential, but I just have to show you this. So you talk about the background, the objectives, then the research method. So I'm going to discuss some of the objectives here. You just see what it means to have an objective. Understand the user pain points when it comes to saving money. So that is an objective. So if you understand the main problem, then you create out objectives, what you want to achieve at the end of the research. Then the next thing is, what are the research methods that will help you actualize these objectives? You have certain plans, like, so you have certain objectives. What research methods will help you to achieve this? So, what's happening on the comment section? So, let me not miss out any serious question on the comment section. I have no slides for this, honestly. I just put up these few hours before now. Other slides. All right, so the research methods, right? Like I mentioned, there are some various types of research methods, quantitative research methods and qualitative. They are all the research methods. So you can Google about research methods and you get to understand the research methods we have. So one of them is literature review, which we decided to use in this product, which we decided to use in this research. So the research method, we looked at literature review. Literature review just helps us to understand some terms. So if we're into, let's say, we're into financial applications. So there's some financial terms like KYC, KPI, and all of that. So we use, we need a literature review to blend with every stakeholder. So when the stakeholder is saying things like KPI, you get to understand what KPI is. And another research method we used was user interview. Another is competitive analysis. Competitive analysis help us to leverage on what our competitors are doing and see what we can do better or improve on. You will have usability studies to, if you look at the usability study here, you said this will help us to understand the natural process that user takes and accomplish certain things. So if you should not take screenshot, please. So now the next thing is a research participant. So research participants, like, where are we going to interview? Who are our seed audience? So your PMs or your team leads will have told you, oh, this is our targeted audience. So for us, we are looking at workers, salary earner, entrepreneurs, and all of that. So this is a simple research planning. So what is left out here is the timeline. So for the timeline, we usually use the Jira to set up timeline. You can see different sprints, different timelines from January to February and all of that, different months. So we use Jira for our timeline. And then we use Google Doc to outline our plans. So after that, we want to talk about the brief. We want to talk about brief, how to create a brief. So remember I talked about a brief while talking about all of this. So a brief just contains the questions and how you want to start your questions, and then how you want to end the whole interview process. So like this brief here, I kind of introduced the objectives of the research to the users, because this brief is going to be used for the interview with the audience, the targeted audience. So if you have a targeted audience and you are about to interview the user should be aware of this, what you are going to use this feedback to do. And you also try to make the user comfortable. Like, you're not trying to come and start asking the user a serious kind of question and answer section, or the user gets scared of what you're talking about. So what you need to do is make the user comfortable. Like what I said, yeah, this interview, okay, you don't have to answer any question you're not comfortable with, and there are no right or wrong answers. So this tend to make the user comfortable while trying to answer your questions to help you actualize your goal. So if there are any other things you want the user to be aware of, oh, we're going to give you incentives at the end of this interview, or we're going to give you 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira for participating, you also let them know in the brief, or you're going to record the meeting, also let them know in your brief, or we're going to display your face in the portfolio, in the persona, sorry, also let them know. So anything you're going to, so the brief gives the audience you're interviewing an idea of what you're going into. It's just like a contract, really. So you have your questions. You can split your questions to intro questions, the main questions, and then your closing questions, depending on what you want to achieve. That reminds me on the questions. So when you are asking questions, when you're building questions for your interview, your questions should be open-ended questions. When I mean open-ended questions, you don't want to go into research and get short informations or informations that cannot actually solve the problem for you. So I'm going to show you one of the questions here. Would you, or let me look for, okay, let me just explain one of the questions. So for example, you want to find out if a user would like to use a grocery app for shopping groceries. And you come with a question like, would you like to use a grocery app, yes or no? The user will give you yes or a no answer. So that is a close-ended question. And that will not allow the user to share his pain points. But if you come with a question like, can you share your experience? What do you think about using a grocery app? That is an open-ended question. Why the user is discussing what he or she thinks about a grocery shopping app, the user inside the conversation will tell you if he or she would like to use a grocery shopping app. But if you come yes or no, you just give the user an option to tell you yes or no. But with open-ended questions like, what would you like to use a grocery? And the user will go, I would love to use it, but I have problem with putting my cards online. I don't want my cards to be out there. You're getting lots of feedback and information. You now have to boost your security when it comes to card payments. So you have to, or you find another way of doing away card payments in your application. So this is an open-ended question, and the user get to share more pain points, share more information to you. But if you come in with a closed-ended question, the user ends up not giving you what you need to get. So that's basically everything about research. and creating a user research plan. So there's a lot into this. There's a lot into user research. There's a lot of user research plans. I think there are more than methodologies, sorry. There are lots of user research methodologies. So one of the way I learn personally is to make Google search about lots of concepts or information. So if there's anything that maybe you want to push further in the future, you can Google what user research plan is, what are the different methodologies for research methods, how to create a user research plan. So all of this is on the internet. So I think we are almost into an hour into this section. So now we'll take the last part of this section, which is the Q&A. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section and I'll be happy and glad to help. Okay, Prosper Ikechiko. Who is the moderator? You can go on to moderate people who answer questions. Who asks questions, then I'll answer. Who is managing the space? Is managing the space so people can ask questions and we can answer the questions. So if you have questions, let me know in the comment section.
Okay, hi guys. Can you guys hear me now? Thank you, Hygienus.
Yeah, we can hear you, Prosper.
So network. I'm literally begging network at this period, and that's why I'm at just a very funny location, yet very noisy too. I'm very sure that a lot of hands are raised for questions and answers. So I'll go with Nathaniel. Nathaniel, unmute yourself and go on. Nathaniel, if you can hear me, bring your hands down and unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Nathaniel. Go on with your question.
Okay, yes, not really a question, just a request. This is one of the class I've enjoyed so far, and it's very short. I just want to ask Prosper if the video will be made available on YouTube for us to watch again and practice and learn a lot from it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Nathaniel, you can bring down your hand. So I've heard your question. But then for the video, I do not want to answer questions like this anymore. And I think I've been answering them. All your videos are live streamed to YouTube. You can always go and check them there. And secondly, for the slides, it's Hygienus intellectual property, and he wishes to do with it whatever he wants. So if he shares it with us, I'll share it with you. But for the video, for the class, is live streamed on YouTube. So check the YouTube channel and you'll see the class there. Thank you. Any other question? Any other person with another question, please? Hygienus, your class seems to be very self-explanatory and interesting.
I believe if they don't have questions, maybe they didn't understand what I'm saying. Because if you really understand what I've been saying so far, you should have a lot of questions for me to answer.
The thing is that they've been having user research classes for the past 3 days. So, so there was a user persona class on Sunday, and in that class they covered introductions to user research. They found it difficult. Then they moved down to yesterday, and they had user research classes again, and then down to today's class. So I don't know. I beg to believe that it's probably the effect of the back-to-back classes that they've understood.
I think there are some questions on the chat, so you can look at them and maybe throw some of the questions to me.
Okay, no problems, hi Genesys. I don't know. I'm waiting for their questions because they asked a lot of questions throughout their classes. And I was hoping that today's class is going to be filled with questions. So I think Iane has a question on the chat box. She says, how do you know the type of research to carry out?
That's a very good question. How to know the kind of research to carry out? When you said the type of research to carry out, I'm believing is a research method you want to use. Are you going to do an interview, or are you going to run surveys, or are you going to do usability testing? I think that's what you're trying to find out. Now, your research methods are usually related to your objectives. So, for example, if your objective is to find out how many people in Enugu State uses boat app, then you should use what we call a quantitative research method. So you have to throw out like a survey or a survey out there. Sorry, you have to throw out a survey, and people get to fill the survey. So maybe you pick out a sample and say, okay, let's throw out this survey in UNM, for example, and people get to fill out the form. You ask questions like, do you use both or no? So there you're getting responses, yes or no, yes or no. At the end of the day, you can present your information like in percentage. Okay, 90% of the people in UNN use both. So your objective shapes the kind of research methods you're going to use. So you need to understand the different types of research methods. That's one way to go about it. Understand your research methods. So if you know the different research methods, then when you are being thrown a question and maybe you're being thrown a problem to solve, then you should, from the problem, identify your objectives. So the objective will now tell you what kind of research method you're going to use. I hope I answered your question correctly.
Okay, thank you, Hygienist. So, I'm seeing a lot of questions right now. Someone is asking, what is the difference between user research and user persona? Sorry, the person is still writing it as personal, but persona, yeah. So user research and user persona.
Okay, I think one of the presentation of your finding is user persona. So when you go into a research, you're trying to also find out who are your users. So a user persona shows you what your user is, who your user is, and the demographics of that user. Like, for example, you see persona having the name of the user, their pinpoints, their demographics, their age, their location, their motivations. So these are being gotten from your research method. So when you are talking with a user, like, oh, you're interviewing a user to find out, maybe you have an objective to get at the end of the research, and you're trying to have a conversation with the user to actually find out those, to reach out to your objectives. So before you start, you want to you don't want to just say, okay, tell me your experience with this and this and this. You need to find out that user. You need to talk with the user. So we said, okay, sir, can you please tell me your name, your location, your age, or what's your experience using so app and all of that. So your persona is part of your information you get after conducting user research. So it's part of the things you present to the team, saying, okay, this is the targeted audience. This is how they look at user A, which is persona A, is saying, I have it very difficult putting my cards in financial application. User B is saying, I find it difficult doing transfer to accounts or using wallet. So the persona is like a final product. It's not really like the final product because there are other informations, there are other analysis of information you get after research. You can have personas, you can have user journey maps, you can have wireframes. So all of these are coming from your user research. So persona is one of them. I hope I answer your question correctly.
Yeah. Next question is, someone is asking, at what stage of the design process do you do your research? So
research is at the first stage of your design process. So you just meet your PM or the stakeholders. If you're a freelancer, you get what we call a design doc or a design brief. We want to build an application for users to be able to log in, create account and all of that. I want the applications to be hosted on Amazon and all of that. So this is description of what the user wants. So what you do after getting your brief is to start your research. So your research method starts with identifying the problem, describing the objectives, selecting the type of research methods you want to have, recruiting the participants, conducting the interview, analyzing the data, and start building. So the research is the first stage when you're going into a design process. But, we learn. So most of us, I think the learning process starts from jumping on Figma and designing a lot of screens without actually going through the research methods. So it's your research methods your research is what will help you to even know what you're designing, because you need to come up with wireframes, you need to come up with flowcharts, you need to come up with user journeys that will help you to actually design those things you're designing in Figma. So we end up, though there are specialties, there are people who are focused on design, there are people who are focused on UX research. But if you're working in a smaller team, you'll end up doing both the UX research, the UX UI design, and whatever you find yourself doing in a smaller team. But in a large organization, you find yourself doing UX, you are specialized. Maybe you're just focused on UX research, or you're focused on designs. So that is it. Any other question?
Yes, someone asked again, like, can you elaborate more on user journey map?
So user journey map is just to share the experience of a user completing the process. So a user is jumping in on an app, or like, let me give you a realistic example. I kept on mentioning about this groceries thing. Going to the grocery to get groceries, going to grocery stores to get groceries for maybe your household. And then, so what's the process like? The user gets up, find a cab, take the cab to the grocery store, walk around, selects the different groceries he wants, goes to the payment points, pays, and then come back home and arrange it in the stores or shelves or fridge or whatever it's supposed to be. That is the process. So now you can find out this through interview. Like, you sit down with the user and have a conversation, might be live, Zoom or whatever. Can you share your experience of how you get groceries, how you get groceries in your store or in a store, and the user explains all of this. So with this information, you can now map a what we call a user journey map. So you tend to know the motivations. Is this user really excited when the user is trying to get a cab? You find out that the motivation for the user is low because the user is finding it difficult getting a cab. maybe has to trek out to a distance to get that cab and all of that. So the user journey map walks you through the process the user used in completing a certain task. And you get to understand the pain points, the objectives, the motivations throughout those processes. So as the start of the user thinking of getting a grocery and to the point where the user comes home with that grocery. So even at the store, where the user is trying to look for one grocery or the other, even the payment process where the user tries to use his card and the card is not working. So these are various things you get to understand with the user journey map. So that is, the user journey map is so, I think it's at the core of what we call, it's at the core of, I don't know how to put it, really understand it. It's at the core of empathy. It's at the core of understanding this user. What are the pain points? What are the motivations? At what point is the user very happy? At what point is the user down? At what point is the user excited to complete a particular process? So that is a user journey map. Any other question?
Yes, they are making funny requests and I'm skipping them, and they're also attacking me that I'm skipping them. But then I just wanted to answer like very important questions. So Sandra, who asked the question of at what point is user research carried out in the design process, is asking again that can you please tell us the step-by-step process before we actually get to the actual design stage?
Okay, I can give you that information, but I don't think it will be that concrete. But let me give it a try. So when you get your design brief, you try to understand the design brief. That is where you identify the problem. So the design brief comes from the stakeholders or the owners of the products or the company heads and all of that. The next thing you need to do is to understand the design brief once you get the design brief. And the next thing is to identify the problem. Start your user research plan. Identify the problem of that brief, what they're trying to say. Once you identify the problem, then create out design objectives, research objectives. What do you try to achieve? And next thing, talk about your methods. What methods are you going to use? Are you going to use quantitative or qualitative? If you're using quantitative, what type of quantitative research are you going to use? Then when you have your methods, the next thing you're going to do is recruit those participants. So at this point of recruiting, you might do what we call survey screeners. Survey screeners is like throw out a survey. Like you want people who work in a grocery because you want to design, or you want people who buy groceries and you want to design an app for grocery people. So you don't want someone who doesn't do anything about groceries to come as your user. So recruiting a participant, you need to screen out. We use what we call screener surveys. So you pick handful of the users. And how do you get your recruiters? Online, social groups. There are even platforms where you pay for getting users, a specific audience and all of that. So when you get your users, recruit your users, you create what we call the interview brief or the research brief, where you write down the questions and what the intro, the questions, and the conclusion of the interview. So you go on to then interview these people. So you create a timeline to the interview. After interviewing each of them, you get your informations. These informations can be documented. You can write them, sticker notes. You can record them. You can record your skills, but make sure you tell them that you're recording the interview before you do that. So when you do that, record it. Then the next thing is to analyze the information you've gotten from the research. Then you take your time to actually listen to them, look at your sticker notes, what you have documented, and then analyze the data. While you are analyzing the data, you present those data. That's when you start presenting it as a persona. That's when you start presenting it as wireframes. That's when it's user flow, user journey map. So whatever design, depending on the research method you're using, each research method has a final presentation. So depending on the research methods you're using, you come out with your presentations. So one of the very key thing is user flows. You start with user flow. Oh, this is how they complete certain tasks. For example, buying stuff in the grocery shop. This is the process. They first wake up, decide they want to buy grocery shop, write a list of the grocery shop, go to a grocery vendor, buy the stores, make payments, come back home. This is the process. So if you understand that, then you have to create what we call user flows from there. That's the user journey map, right? You create a user flow. From the user flow, you now understand, oh, you need a login screen, or you need to start the process from logging into the app, creating the list of the groceries by selecting from available groceries of vendors, or selecting the available vendors and selecting the available groceries they want to buy. That is a user flow. Or from the user flow, each of the user flows tells you the numbers of screens you're going to have in your designs. So the next thing from the user flow is to create your wireframes. So as you're looking at the different processes, you're now looking at the various screens you need to have in the application. That's when you create what we call wireframes. So when you're done with your wireframe, there's what we call usability testing. So you go on to test this with the users. Does this solve your problem? Do you have any challenges with this? So you do usability testing. So you test with the user. Hey, can you log in? Can you click? Do this. So you kind of prototype it on Figma, the wireframes, and the user tends to click and click and click. And you find out why they're doing that. That is what we call qualitative research. So as you're doing that, you're finding that pain point. Oh, the user could not know. For example, the user wants to log in and the user forgot that the login credentials. So at that point, you get to know that, oh, you need to put a forgot password in case a user forgets the information. So at that point, you're understanding more and you come back to draw your wireframes. So when you're done with your wireframes, you do what we call UI designs. Before you get into UI designs, you create what we call your design system. If you're going to use a design system, branding, colors, what type of colors are you going to use? Colors specific to the product, because colors have psychologies. After that, you go to Dribbles, get what we call a design idea of how you want your design to look like, the type of typography you want to use and all of that, or the kind of design system you want to use. Is it Bootstrap or whatever you want to use? At the end of the day, you create your UI designs, then you test again with the user. That's another process. You go on to test and say, oh, this is now the actual kind of how the design is going to look. The other one was the wireframe. You now test with the user. If things goes well, then more advanced companies, they go into what we call accessibility. I've already designed for a particular user. Now you need to, because design is UX research or UX design is all about encompassing everybody, every user into your product. So there are people who are deaf, there are people who are blind. So more companies who have lots of resources to extend their research to those people can do that. And once you're done, you put out your product. And design does not end at bringing out the MVP, minimum viable product out there. So it's a continuous process. You keep testing, keep coming back with feedbacks and solutions on how to improve the design, because design is a continuous process. That's it. Any other question?
Okay, Genesys, thank you. That was very detailed, and it seems
Somebody
like
said
enjoying
he's
it.
lost. Favor said
Anybody that is lost just needs to find themselves at this point, because where will we start finding this person from? I can't see where the person even said it. So I think I said I don't get lost. Oh, so I think hygienist. The next question is obviously like is a request. So they are requesting for if you have a template where they can use as a guide, but I don't know. I'm being lenient today to respond to all their questions. They know
someone is saying, does illustration has to be with low fidelity? Yeah, so illustration can be done with, it all depends on the resources. You know, when you go into design, you spend a lot of time, money, employees you pay on the job and all of that. So if you have to do illustration 10 times to get it right, you have to do it. So most companies, they skip the low fidelity illustration and go to high fidelity illustration because they're trying to save cost. But if your company can carry the burden of doing both low fidelity and high fidelity, some people do high fidelity twice, some people do low fidelity once. So depending on the strength, when it comes to financial strength of your organization. So that's it. Any other question? I've seen some funny
Yes,
questions.
yeah, don't mind them and their funny questions. So the other questions, I think I can help you answer them because I need you to take a cup of water while I
Okay.
answer. So they someone is asking for a guide. I think there are a lot of guides to user research when you go to Figma community. You'd see some of them there. Any kind of guide. So when you're looking for even user experience, user journey map, you'd see a lot of guides there, user personas and all of that. You can Google all these things. The guides are there. If you ask Hygienus for this guide, he will obviously Google it and send it to you. So just save Hygienus the stress and do it. And then Hygienus, they wish to have your socials probably to connect with you. So I think maybe before you leave, you should just tell us how we can reach out to you. Don't drop your WhatsApp number and advice so that they don't come spamming your DM. You can drop your your LinkedIn, Twitter, and all of that. That's safer for in my own opinion, anyways. So yeah.
I think you can. I think let me look at my website if I have any social there. Yeah, I have my LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my email. And I also have my YouTube here. So you guys can check me out on my website, hygienistok.com. You can see my portfolio as well. Some of these things I discussed, you can look at some of the sample projects I've done. You can see how I started with the research, interview, persona development, competitive analysis. And I have links to all of these. I think this is the interview brief. There's a link to it. You can check it out. Competitive analysis, I did user flow charts, interesting flow charts. The sketches, yeah, you can also see the sketches. I also did high and low fidelity, then user testing, and the mock-up design, the final design. So you can check out some of the jobs that I've done here to see the process which I use in achieving all of this. Then you can also check out about me. So you get to see, this is my previous company I've changed. You get to see my resume if you want to use it as a sample for yours, my certification, and tools I work with, my YouTube, and my social links. So everything is here. So anybody, or you can send me a message on my website and I'll get to respond. I have a lot of DMs on social medias. God help me, I respond to you.
So thank you, Hygienist. So for everyone in the class, hygienistuk.com, and I'm sure the link must have already reached to Igbo's group chat because that's you guys' favorite place of communication. So drop it for those that wouldn't remember. So you can reach out to him there. His socials are there, and then you can send him DMs on those socials. So the rest of the questions are quite funny, anyways. People are asking how to land jobs on Upwork and all of that, and I don't think it's the purpose of the class. So we'll skip that to probably we might have another master class, and maybe hygienists will be invited or someone else will be invited to talk about freelancing and all of that. But for now, we are focused on UX research, user research, and everything around researching
Those
for
people,
design process.
those people asking Upwork, it's like they have gone and seen my Upwork account. So
Yeah,
people
you know,
are good in
yeah,
searching.
if they will not focus on the class, they are looking for Upwork account. It's funny. I'm laughing. So thank you, hygienist. I think you've done really good. You've done a very good job, and you've done justice to this topic. Personally, I have learned and have added to my bank of knowledge, and I'll continuously share what I have learned. And I hope that everyone here too has learned. The comment section shows that they enjoyed your session a lot. It was fun, it was short, it was brief. And thank you for putting the last nail on the cross for us for user research and everything about it. So So you would probably get a lot of DMs from them. So just wait for your LinkedIn to start blowing up here and there and all of that. So so
All
thank
right,
you,
no problem.
Hygienist. Yeah,
All right.
and yeah. So everyone else on the class, to the participants, I hope you learned a lot. I hope you've jotted down. I hope you've understood everything that um, Francisca, Chidima, Prosper, and Hygienist has said about user research. Like I always say, one class is not enough for you to learn anything that you're being taught here. Even if we bring the best of the teachers to handle any topic here, and we say the person should do it under 2 hours, I don't think the person will do justice to it. User research is bigger than 1 week. If you handle it for 1 week, like from what Hygienist has said, you already know what user journey map is. I don't think any of you has done a user journey map. So you see that user journey map can still be another class on its own. User stories is another class on its own. User persona is another class on its own. Even how to plan an interview, how to handle an interview, and all of these things are classes on its own. And the best way to do this, to gain this knowledge, is to search. Use Google. Use Google. Use Google. That is the biggest resource that the internet has provided for humans since after the inception of the internet. I think so, in my own opinion. So please use it and use it properly. I will be ending the class now, and I'll be also expecting good jobs on all your tasks. The tax has not yet dropped because I don't want to put people on high jump and tensions. So I'll be expecting your tax by tomorrow, and also I'll be expecting a good job. Like right now, the bar has been raised higher than what I left it at yesterday. So now I don't want to see any mediocre work because you all have agreed that Hygienus has done justice to this topic. So good night. Don't forget to be the best. And tomorrow is always a good day to start again. So thank you very much and good night.